Уважаемые коллеги, начинаем заседание нашего круга.
Distinguished colleagues, should we start? What are the suggestions? Should we? Shall we? I believe it's time to start. It's 10 o'clock already. Well, almost 5 after 10. Come in please, and I am going to be sitting like this because this is the position of the microphones, otherwise you're not going to hear me. Distinguished colleagues, guests, and our old friends, our new friends, let me, director of the Russian Federal Center for Forensic Science, start our scientific session regarding competence and certification in the forensic activities, international approaches and aspects. Our roundtable is conducted in the framework of St. Petersburg International Forum, and we are part of the bloc judicial and arbitration practice. And it became a good tradition for forensic examiners of the whole world to meet here at the legal forum. And today we have the second session. The first session we had last year. And I would like to thank all the participants of our roundtable who decided to dedicate their time, who decided to come here and exchange their views, their vision of the issues and problems of the competence and certification in the forensic activities. You know, a lot of participants of our roundtable and also journalists and people who also order us to make forensic examinations. They ask that question: why forensic examination is such a popular topic in the place where the elite of the legal community is meeting? Because the tasks are actually set by the lawyers, by the judges, and it's impossible for the judges to make their final decisions without proper forensic examination. That's why there is nothing surprising. And last year our roundtable discussion was showing that we had not just forensic examiners among those who participated in our discussion, but also lawyers from all over the world, and attorneys, prosecutors, notaries, and many other people, representatives of the legal profession. Why is forensic examination in such demand? Because today the methods that are used to solve certain problems, solve the tasks, they are outlined by forensic institutions. You can be a wonderful chemist, physicist, economist, mathematician, but you are not an examiner, because when you have to identify certain matters, and those questions could be answered only with the help of great science, of criminalistics, forensic examination. the approaches of forensic examination are based on professional knowledge of criminalistics. Outside of judicial proceedings, we forensic examiners, we cannot exist. And also judicial proceedings cannot exist without solving our tasks. And that's why we are here, and we are going to exchange our experience, the results of our research, of our practice. We're going to discuss what happened in the course of 1 year, although I would like to note that forensic examiners of our country, international community, they can be participants of not just legal forums, but they could be participants of some economic forum, technological, chemical, linguistic, because forensic examination is like flower, and it consists of experts representing different fields of knowledge. That's why all of us, we can talk freely using any other platform. But today we're here, and today we're going to discuss the issues that are in such demand. You all know really well that the main kind of activities is presenting high quality forensic examination reports respecting reasonable time limits. But this is not something that's the most important. The most important is to support the competences of experts representing different fields of knowledge. And you know what's written in our special books. An examiner is an expert who possesses special knowledge. Yes, an expert, but most important, an examiner is a competent expert. Competence, accreditation, certification. These are the matters that we're going to discuss at our roundtable. And today, quality assurance is the most often repeated phrase at all international forums. And sometimes you get confused. It's some kind of a defix, quality assurance, quality assurance. Everyone is talking about it. But today, when we witness a lack of competence, it's a great obstacle to our work, because the decisions are made on the basis of our competent conclusions. And the very first presentation that I would like to suggest to you today, that's about the importance of accreditation for the whole world to evaluate the competence of the labs. And I'm going to give the floor to Deputy Head of the Federal Accreditation Service, so Rosakkreditatsiya, the most important Russian agency which is involved with this issue, Sergei Migin. And Mr. Migin, we do hope that your presentation here today is going to answer all the questions that we have in our examiners, forensic examiners community. And also, what is the most important, we're going to take advantage of this situation. We would like to make friends with Sergei Migin, and would like to be the first institutions to be accredited with your professional assistance. Thank you so much for these kind words. I think that we'll try to unveil all the secrets of accreditation that examiners community face, and there are lots of questions, and our discussion here today is going to be just the first one, and we're going to have many more, and I'm really grateful, I'm really happy to make a presentation in such a professional audience. And it's even greater honor to be the first speaker at our round table. So if I may, I'm going to have a two-part presentation. First, I'm going to say a couple of words about the Federal Accreditation Service of the Russian Federation. We've been having this organization for 3 years, but only today we can say that we are ready after the transition period, and we are ready to use the tools that we created, and we are ready to show our brand new tools to the examiners, to the experts, in order to fulfill regulatory tasks, also to deal with international cooperation and other priority matters. Do we have the slides? Next slide, please. Maybe I'm going to just... Oh, I have to switch it on. Okay. I wanted to start with the following. Yesterday, the Federation Council just adopted the amendments into 10 laws regarding accreditation. This document is the end of the 5-year legislative cycle when in Russia we created modern system of accreditation. And the key element of this system is the law on accreditation. It was passed in December last year, law number 412, basic law, which is coming into legal force in 2 weeks on the 1st of July. And by the time it comes into legal force, we had a very serious task to provide necessary bylaws, 40 bylaws. I'm going to mention that later, and also to introduce amendments into a dozen laws. Accreditation is to be conducted in accordance with the basic law, and also we have to establish certain liability for all the participants in the system. Just in brief about the steps that were taken prior to our meeting. The single national body had to be created, and my colleagues remember that in Russia we had up to 18 systems, and in every system they had their own accreditation body, non-transparent, very complicated, not efficient at all. Plus, we had to do it because of international cooperation, because we had to join different international organizations. And practically in 2010, we launched the concept of the single national system, and Rosakkreditatsiya was created by the end of 2011. By mid-2012, we just gathered all the powers of more than a dozen different executive agencies. We had to get the registers, then human resources. Then in 2012, we had the transition mode of work, and we were moving towards international standards. And today we approached, you can see it here, we approached the time when the accreditation law is coming into legal force, and we have very serious task to implement it practically, because there are many innovations in the law, and our tasks and the tasks of professional examiners community are to organize this work in order to understand our movement. Well, here is the schedule, and you can see the main guidelines. The star shows our position today, just before the 1st of July. And now we are real close to the day when accreditation law is coming into legal force, which means complete harmonization of Russian accreditation laws with international standards. It took us 3 years to conduct this harmonization, and summer last year 15 official meetings were conducted. Also, more than 10 times we met with the State Duma deputies. All the texts were examined properly. It's a big document, 80 pages, and we worked with every single word. And what's more important in this work, and I believe it's great innovation from the point of view of legislative work, our document, at the request of Russian organizations, at the suggestion of the cabinet, it was translated into English, and we showed this text to our partners, and personally, Thomas Faklow, the chairman of the European organization, said that the draft law didn't contain any provisions contradicting international standards. Yes, we have to admit that there are some provisions that we have to be very careful with, and we should be very careful with the bylaws regulating those provisions. But I have to repeat once again that we are sure, and we received written assurance that our text is something that allows us to move forward. Our concept is to provide for the recognition of Russian accreditation in other countries. Naturally, for us, it's not just the ultimate goal. No, it's a very good anchor. It's a very good situation when we could put everything in order in the market of certification. We can arrange some order. Our main task is to maintain order, to establish order, maintain order, and get the indicators even better than internationally accepted indicators. And this year, after July, we're going to start implementing provisions of the law, and then we're going to file our requests with the international organizations. And in 2015, 2016, we're going to arrange professional visits. That's going to be evaluation, assessment, providing certain comments, and by 2017 we hope to sign appropriate agreements. So this is our program as of today. A couple of words about the innovations and the key provisions regarding our law on accreditation. This is a procedural law. It's extremely important for us because the accreditation, it's a government service, it's a state service, and it must be established in the right way. It must be transparent and understandable for all the participants.
And then it will be able to eradicate all potential violations. These 3 years we've spent working as part of the transitional period allowed us to take into account all potential problems and take care of them in the law and in implementing regulations. And bylaws. So first we created a path and then we paved it, not the other way around. So we expect those provisions to be practical and workable so that all process participants could have a very clear idea about how they work. Another important thing related to the law, it is quite clear that every accreditation procedure has a subjective element. Of course, we try to make it as objective as possible, especially for lab testing, and later I'll speak more about how we do proficiency testing, how we compare different labs, but this bias, this subjective element is inbuilt. That's why the second important aspect is experts. We are planning to have reassessment for all of the experts. To be able to do that, we'll create an assessment commission which will consist of forensic experts from different agencies, from different areas, forensic areas. Another will be a technical expert core, including registered and everything else that is described in every detail. And most importantly, the experts have to be competent, professional, proficient, and practice shows that we have a great deal of excellent experts. It's just that we probably have to be able to offer them some additional training, to introduce them to the vocabulary of quality assurance, because many people ask how quality assurance is different than quality manager. To introduce them to different language and train them in a couple of new things. Many of them are excellent experts, but some of them are ignorant of what they believe is purely bureaucratic. They don't quite understand why it is essential to document every step they make. It's kind of nihilism. It's kind of denial. So the big task is to introduce excellent experts to a good management system. And an equally essential component will be to make sure that the experts are independent and unbiased, because no matter how professional an expert is, if the expert is not independent of administrative potential pressure, the results of the work of such an expert may be even more dangerous than the performance of a less professional expert, because he'll know how to mislead people. And so that is something that we are trying to focus on very hard. Yeah, I realize that I've almost spent my time. It's just that I want you to have a very clear idea about how our system is built. To avoid bottlenecks, we now have trained about 550 experts. 50 of them have not been attested, and they've lost accreditation, and they can't exercise access to forensic examination. After the law becomes active, we'll complete this procedure, and the number of experts will probably be significantly reduced. Having said that, we'll be happy to see new experts joining our expert corps. Currently, most of the experts that have been accredited are older people, but this year we are going to develop training methodology, training curricula, and offer it to the universities so that they could include it into their permanent courses. Number 3, harsher requirements. The law's underlying logic is to make the procedure easier and requirements harsher, to make requirements easily understandable and substantive requirements very harsh, and they have been made much harsher. We make a reference to international standards, 17,000 standards, and that was approved by the Ministry of Economic Development decree. It will be those standards that will be used to accredit certain categories of experts. We have expanded the range of experts. In addition to traditional lab certification agencies, we have included some individual inspections which have not been commonly used in Russia for some reasons, except in voluntary areas like manufacturing safety and some other areas. This list includes providers of inter-lab comparative testing. So you have this whole range of international standards. There's a very subtle legal trick here, because the standards, and that is something that the Ministry of Economic Development has also believed, just as the Ministry of Justice. So, because the policy has been that the standards, for some obvious reasons, are deemed as something voluntary. You know, it is impossible to take a standard and make sure that it be deemed as mandatory in court. So the system looks like this. The accreditation law has it that the Ministry of Economics shall introduce accreditation criteria, and those will be deemed as a ground for certain administrative penalties in a case where criteria are violated. On the other hand, there is a list of standards, because accredited bodies are interested in what is written in the accreditation paper, whether this or that lab meets international standards. And the law says that those criteria shall be established based on international standards. And we do comparative tables. For every standard, we have a criteria, domestic criterion, and it's a big step forward. We are very grateful to all participants who have helped us incorporate international standards into the law. And another thing I'd like to highlight in the context of the law is how to monitor accredited bodies and make sure that they are held accountable for what they do. We realize only too well that it's too early to speak about joining international clubs before we get rid of domestic mess. Percentage-wise, the organizations which are not too good create a negative context for competition, dumping trends, and a lot of counter incentives for good agencies and good labs. We used to have this concept of inspections or inspection monitoring. It was not described in respective laws, including Law 294. It was not procedurally very well developed. So under the law, the competency as a government service should be reattested every 2 years, should be confirmed every 2 years. It is similar to initial accreditation, even though there are some minor differences. Another tool, another instrument is government oversight. A lot has been discussed here. And to do so, we have a service, not an agency, but service, because the task here is not to create high market hurdles. The task here is to create an inventory of market participants and know who is who. Our partners have been asking us to show that there is a clear borderline between those who are responsible for accreditation and those who are responsible for monitoring. And that is what we have done. We have described those two different groups very clearly, and that helps us be more efficient. Under the law, as a result of competency testing, if you identify violations, you can set into motion an emergency monitoring procedure. That was my overview of the accreditation law. And now, very, very briefly, just in big brushes, let me speak about our international cooperation. A year ago, we became an associated member of ILAC. We can now vote every time major documents are discussed. There is, an organization of analysts operating under ILAC, and we have to take into account what they think. Next year, we are planning to become a full-fledged member of the organization. We are moving towards International Accreditation Forum. That is important for certification agencies. We closely cooperate with European accreditation bodies, and we are creating a domestic organization for Eurasian accreditation. In February, 7 countries, members of CIS, signed a memorandum: Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzia, Armenia, Ukraine, and Moldova. Integration tracks are different, but it is our belief that we should have at least 4 bodies. That is what is necessary for a region. And that will help us to create standards and requirements within the region. It has support of Peter Munger, who is head of the International Accreditation Organization. And just a couple of words about the work today. The ILAC president was going to come, but he couldn't come for some reasons. And he asked me to share with you some of his slides. Maybe they will push you towards future cooperation and prompt some future solutions. I'm not going to describe the slides in a lot of detail, but the first slide says that U.S. Department of Justice requires the accreditation of such laboratories and recognizes them. I'm not going to discuss regulatory systems. They may be different, but there should be some necessary elements. There is technical competence of labs, and you don't want to reinvent a wheel in a situation where there is already a well-developed and internationally recognized accreditation system. For medical forensics, the expert's proficiency is very important, and that is something that we should think about. Whether we want to include it as part of the accreditation procedure, whether we want to develop it as expert attestation, or whether we want to have it as a separate procedure where accreditation is going to be combined with proficiency testing or assessment. We'll figure it out, but Peter Unger reminds us that it's standard 17025. We can't get away from it. And in conclusion, let me tell you that G19 is revising modules in the forensic process, will be very actively participating in the document discussion. It will probably have a venue for getting together and discussing all proposals, and then our national standard will probably be revised. We'll be happy to do so because ROS accreditation is secretariat of a proficiency testing subcommittee now. Thank you very much for patience. Sorry I've taken so much of your time. It's just that I wanted to draw as big a picture as possible, and I wish you all a lot of success. Microphone, please ask the lady to switch on the mic. Dear colleagues, I think it will be only fair to thank Igor for a detailed and easily understandable presentation of recent accreditation trends, because the subject is really critical. So at this point, I'd like to have an answer, or at least draft answer. Did I understand, and my colleagues, did we all understand you correctly, that maybe not today, but tomorrow, in the very near future, Russian forensic examiners or experts will no longer depend on European accreditation. And is it right to say that Russian accreditation will, the procedure will be a full-fledged member of the international organization? And if we have this accreditation, no matter where we testify in a Russian court or European court, well, the court's perception of us is the same as perception of any international expert, and no one is going to doubt our opinions. The answer is very easy, but I can well give you an answer for what we are responsible for. The two different aspects: lab competency, and as soon as we become a full-fledged member of international organizations of ILAC, and after we have signed all of the respective issues, that will be yes. But it doesn't mean that all regulatory issues will be resolved. We have to remember that those fora are agency organizations, not country associations, and many of those agencies are ignored in their own countries. Microphone, please. Are there any other questions you'd like to ask, Grigory? Microphone, please. As a lawyer, I'm interested in one thing. Accreditation body. Do you draw a borderline between a specialist and expert? Those are two Russian categories. In terms of accreditation, thank you very much. We took a long time to discuss this purely legal issue at many different venues. The biggest achievement of the law is a very good, exhaustive description of what an expert constitutes. We give a clear definition of an expert, and it was approved by the Federation Council, and very often will have amendments introduced into the code, while specialists are the people who conduct additional forensic examination. They may be used to complete it. Is it in the accreditation, for the accreditation context, right? Did I understand you correctly? Forensic experts, it's not a question of me. It's a question of the bill on forensic activities. Microphone, please. By definition, accreditation shall apply to organizations, legal entities, and entrepreneurs. Individuals shall be attested, not accredited, and we removed individual accreditation from the law because they say accreditation with respect to individuals can only apply to journalists, not labs. For the purpose of accreditation of forensic examination in court. Once again, my colleagues are in a better position to take this question because it's not the jurisdiction of a national accreditation body, but there is this mechanism whereby, that accreditation may be conducted by a personnel certification body, which may be accredited. It's kind of hierarchical system that we have.
We need microphone, please. Microphone. Microphone, thank you. In harmony with the new law on forensics, we could expect almost a perfect situation. It just happens in Russia that the accreditation law and the law on improving forensic activities seem to be following in parallel. Have you been satisfied with the answer? Any more questions? If not, then a microphone, please. I don't... Microphone. At the beginning of our session, I omitted mentioning the number of the duration of presentations. I believe 10 to 15 minutes to the keynote speaker plus 5 minutes to questions. If you don't have any objections, let us continue according to our agenda, my dear colleagues. The issue for competence and accreditation of forensic institutions across the world cannot be possible without validated techniques and qualified forensic assessment. We have just been given a picture of what is needed, yet another aspect which was described as a technical approach. We're talking about validated techniques for our defense lawyers in courts to be able to not be able to address the judge, your honor. Everything has been wonderful, but this technique has not been validated. And the expert, the forensic expert, was not certified. So the next item on our agenda, this roundtable discussion, is the issue of validated techniques and innovative approaches to validation. And this is the issue to be addressed by our very great and long-term friend, Director of the National Institute of Criminalistics and Criminology, Doctor of Law, wonderful Jan de Kinder. For many years, he used to be the head of the European Association of Forensic Experts. He may be probably the only one to know this question inside out. You have the floor, Jan.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I also would like to thank the organizer for giving me the opportunity here to make this presentation at this very respected international forum. And the title which was given to me was Trends and Profitability of Forensic Techniques Validation, which at first sounded a bit enigmatic to me, but I think it provides me an opportunity to talk about issues of accreditation, which is already the main topic of this session, validation, and their costs. Now, costs is an important increasing issue in the current times of limited economical means, where forensic laboratories have to do with less. We have an increasing amount of cases coming in year by year, and every year we get less amount of money to do so. So we could really say that literally we have to do more with less right now. So what about the accreditation? What's the cost involved for that? Is there a cost? Yes, definitely there is a cost, and we can, if you look more careful into that, we can identify two contributions to that. And the first source of cost is indeed that you want to put your level high for your laboratory. You would like to put the bar very high. And if the level of operation of your laboratory is not sufficiently high, you need to make investments. And these investments need to occur in a number of areas, like scientific techniques, equipment, competency of your staff, building facilities, traceability of evidence, just to name but a few of them. And the second source of cost is the accreditation system itself. It requests a lot of paperwork to be performed, quality documents. You also need a quality document management system. And don't forget the cost of an external audit, which can be substantial, because in the forensic domain, you will need a technical auditor present for each forensic field. The choice lies with you, and you need to take it. Are you going to go for accreditation or not? And of course, you have to consider the consequences of choosing not to do so. Is it an easy option because it implies that there are no costs involved? No, I don't think so. On the contrary. If you're not choosing for accreditation, it means that the scientific basis of your results is not validated and that your collaborators do not necessarily perform the analysis in the same coherent way. A number of results can result from that. First of all, you still have costs because you have to redo a number of analyses. And if somebody else redoes the analysis in the laboratory, it's not guaranteed that we'll arrive at the same conclusion because you're not working in a harmonized way. Second, you may have to correct an expert report. Third, a second opinion may be required from another laboratory. And fourth, finally, your stakeholder, the person who gives you the mission to do a certain expertise, a certain analysis, will not be happy and will start to look for alternatives, for other providers of the same service. So all these items will lead to a decrease in income and a decrease in satisfaction about the services that your laboratory is providing. And moreover, in our profession, there's a big risk that we all would like to avoid, the punishment and even imprisonment of innocent people. And connected to this is the fact that there still may be dangerous criminals around who are not stopped in their activities. And the costs related to that exceed the level of the laboratory and are situated on a society level. Do we want to have a society where the citizens believe they live in a safe, fair, and correct environment? I think as scientists, we have the moral obligation to contribute to the experience that justice really exists. If you look at published advantages of a quality system in place, I will not cite them all, but you can see them on the screen here. We notice at the bottom that lower cost and greater efficiency are key elements to that. So I think we do have a number of elements here to argue for a choice for accreditation, already based alone on the cost side. In the second part of my presentation, I will address the validation of the methods and the cost related to that. Because validation is indeed an element of a quality system which costs a lot of energy, a lot of investments of consumables, a lot of time of the people working in the laboratory. And moreover, each time that a manufacturer comes with a novelty, you will have to redo the analysis, redo the validation. And we had recently a number of cases in which a DNA provider came with a new kit for his analysis, and we had to redo the whole validation. Now we opted for another solution of a flexible scope, which is a bit outside the scope of my presentation, but I think it's one of the areas in which we have to develop further on in the future. I would like to address here two elements which will be certainly also an agenda for tomorrow. And both of these ideas originate from the medical world, who uses another standard, the ISO 15189 standards, instead of what we commonly use, the ISO 7025 standard for forensic laboratories. And as a forensic community, we can demand that commercial producers already perform a full validation of their material and that their report is available for the whole forensic world. And instead of having to do a complete validation of a method, we just have to perform only a limited amount of verifications in our laboratory. What are a number of cases in which this can occur? As I just mentioned, the DNA providers who furbish equipment with specialized kits for each equipment, well, indeed, they could work in this way. Another examples are the presumptive or orientation test in DNA analysis. For instance, the PSA test used to detect sperm. If the manufacturer already determines selectivity of this application, it is a big step forward. So I think the forensic world will have to speak with one voice to the producers of equipment and ask them that this information would be made available together with the products they are providing. A second element is that for methods commonly used in a number of laboratories, we can imagine that two laboratories perform a validation of a method using exactly the same materials. And if the results coincide, we can assume that this method is universally applicable. And a verification of the results in other laboratories is then sufficient instead of doing a complete validation. And this way of working, for instance, is already used in the field of genetically modified organisms. Two important remarks is that, first of all, we need to set up a database of validated methods, which everybody then can use. And secondly, this is also an enormously big step forward towards harmonization of methods. And if we do so, we could be easily exchanging results between different laboratories, between different countries, and we could also use these results to store them into an international database for case work, but also for statistical purposes. And this exchangeability is getting more and more important within the European Union because borders between countries are more and more disappearing, and probability for cross-border crime is more increasing. By consequence, we do see a bigger need for exchanging evidence materials and also expert opinions, as far as they are mutually recognized by the different countries. If you look at the validation process, we can identify 4 basic elements. First of them is precision. How repeatable is our method? Second is trueness. How accurate is our technique? The measurement range is also very important, where the limit of detection, limit of quantification has to be determined. And then the fourth element is robustness. Does our method depend on the person who is executing it? Does it depend from environmental factors, for instance, temperature in your lab? Now, if either the validation report for the manufacturers becomes available, or if we can use the system with 2 validated laboratories, we will only have to verify precision and certain elements of the robustness. All the other elements will not be necessary anymore. So I think this is indeed a factor which could reduce the cost substantially. So the international exchange of data is becoming already today a reality. As you can see on the screen here, the PROM Treaty organizes the exchange of DNA information between the countries of the European Union. An essential element for this is the accreditation of the laboratories. Every DNA laboratory who provides data has to be accredited right now. And I profit from this occasion to make a little publicity for the conference my laboratory is organizing next week, where we will be doing an evaluation of the exchange of DNA information between the different countries of the European Union. Having said this, I think that I argued that the costs for accreditations are acceptable and that accreditation is really necessary in this field of study. And moreover, I provided 2 ways of reducing cost for validation in the future: by a better collaboration with industry, who can provide validation of their equipment and consumables themselves, and also by using intra-laboratory validation done by 2 laboratories. These elements to make up your choice are now on the table, so I think you can make a choice, and I hope you all will be choosing for accreditation. I would like to thank you all for your attention, and if you have questions, I will be glad to try to answer them.
Спасибо, Ян.
Thank you very much, dear Jan. Could you please have the last slide on? Could we have the last slide, please? Well, you saw the last slide, and my dear colleagues, our foreign friends and colleagues, when they make their presentations, they always try to find some graphic comparison or graphic characterization of the notion. This notion of validation is this very attractive young woman that helps everything else to be. And when Sergei was talking and when we heard from Jan de Kinder, I think we now know what is the perfect situation, this ideal picture we want to achieve in accreditation, certification, validation. However, forensic sciences, fortunately or unfortunately, are rather comprehensive, rather complicated. Some people believe that it's kind of a black box where you've got inputs and outputs, but it's not true. In accreditation, there are certain narrow fields, narrow or unhappy areas, and everything depends on who's trying to do it. Unless you have questions to Jan de Kinder, I think we will be moving on to the discussion of problem areas. There is some problem but exciting areas in the system of accreditation. And we'll be talking about the broadening or narrowing of the sphere of accreditation. Unless we have questions to Jan de Kinder. But you have an opportunity to talk more about validation after we cover the entire issue, this issue of our agenda. So we'll be talking about this sphere of accreditation, and we'll be hearing from the heads of the Forensic Science Center, Ministry of Justice of Republic of Azerbaijan. And you all know that the Azerbaijan Center, even back in the Soviet Union, was of the best forensic institutions in the former Soviet Union. And the honor to introduce the center, reintroduce the center to us is given to you, Fuat. You have been working very closely on issues relating to forensic sciences in Baku. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. The area of forensic sciences is so specific. It is rather difficult to pinpoint any specific problems. I thought this microphone was for the interpreters. Once again, I would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity to address this very distinguished audience. This is a very good opportunity to talk shop, to discuss the best in the profession. An important place in the development of the judiciaries down to the integration of forensic science based on the uniform methodology of forensic assessment and validation of forensic laboratories in accordance with international standards. And one of the practical ways to achieve this objective is to become incorporated in the European and global forensic institutions. We have joined the European network of forensic institutions, and it signified a new stage and phase in our international cooperation. our government pledged to help us with the necessary and qualified personnel and equipment that would make it possible for us to be in line with the very high-level standards. Our staff attended various training seminars in Turkey and studied standards of accreditation of forensic and other laboratories, ISO 17,000. That allows to trace changes in techniques and being compliant with the ISO standards. Our quality assurance manager studied the experience of our Latvian colleagues, and our accreditation of the laboratory at the institution led to the creation of the unit responsible for quality assurance.
And we conducted lab tests in seven labs, and also we had cooperation with the Department of Criminal Police of Turkey. Also, we participated in 15 tests of the collaborative testing service of the United States. And we also conducted calibration of the equipment which is used in our laboratory. Also, in our structural units, we outlined appropriate documents and also sent the request to the Turkish accreditation organization. And in May 2013, they accredited 13 methodologies in 4 kinds of forensic examination. Also, we continue the work in this respect. Annually, we conduct audits, and just recently we had representatives from Turkey conducted the audit. We don't know about the results yet, but I hope everything is fine. And several years ago, there were 3 main criteria regarding the requirements, the space and the equipment, methods to be used, and personnel who can use the appropriate equipment in accordance with all the requirements. Today, the competent lab must also have the system of quality management. And one of the most efficient modern instruments of the assessment of the quality of examiners and the institutions is the system of quality management, international standardization organization, appropriate accepted the document regarding the quality assurance. And it shows that quality means satisfying the requirements, and the system of quality management and all this is the aggregate organizational structure, methodologies, and the resources necessary for general. Well, I have a very long report. I don't want to read it all. We before we had very rigid accreditation range, and since 2002 we have this flexible range, which is not accepted by everyone equally, and some people believe that flexible accreditation would lead the way to taking advantage of this situation, abusing this situation. Also, they say that this is the new the new field for complaints, because the examination institution could introduce some new methodologies, not validated methodologies. That's why we cannot say that flexible accreditation is that good. I don't think we can also the same regarding rigid accreditation, because all the requirements are too rigid. You need too much time, and in this respect, flexible accreditation provides certain opportunity to deal with several methodologies. Well, right here, the main idea is to establish the boundaries, maximum and minimum boundaries, because we have the examples for anti-doping examination, and the examination was conducted when, well, the methods were used that haven't been accredited anywhere, and of course that creates doubts regarding the results of that forensic examination. And today our Center of Forensic Examination is trying to establish those boundaries, and naturally, as Mr. Jan de Kinder put it just the right way here, we need exchange of information, exchange of experience, and the membership in international organizations gives us the opportunity to exchange experience. We have traditional connections with post-Soviet countries. We meet very often. We attend different events. We try to discuss each other's experience, and of course we try to correspond with international requirements. And in conclusion, I would like to use the opportunity. Mr. Yander Kinder is present here. I would like to ask him, as we know, one of the conditions is the accreditation in the course of the first 3 years regarding 50% of the forensic examinations in the institution. In post-Soviet countries, we have too many types of forensic examinations. We conduct we have about 40 specialties, and one of the requirements is to accredit more than 50% of all the forensic work. But we conduct the forensic examinations that are not part of EFC. Well, you can come to us soon. No, but European Institute, EMC, and they if you will look at that, we are going to have 100% examination, because we have types of examination. We have certain types of examination that they are not actually they are not to be accredited by MC. I have to repeat it, because we don't test 50%, but we must test 100% actually, because we conduct too many types of examinations. But all European institutions, they just have less types of examination. And maybe it's time to revise these requirements regarding 50%. Thank you for your attention. Sorry for this. I would like to tell you the following. Microphone, please. And the first that I would like to tell you about, or what I would like to share with you, especially with those people who didn't work closely with accreditation. I have to tell you that in the Soviet Union, the quality issues, validation issues, testing issues, they existed from ancient times. But we, as usual, we failed to reflect it on paper. And now we are following European community. When we pass our laws. We are participants of NFC and all the CIS countries, all the Eurasian countries, and when we present attend their meetings, we understand it all, because everything which is conducted and we always had those standards, but they officially registered those standards on time, and we failed to do it. And it's not by chance that I said that. I don't want to change our schedule. No. In Europe, they don't conduct so many types of forensic examination as we conduct in post-Soviet republics in Russia. Can you mention Russian Federal Center today? We have 65 types of forensic examination. Some of our colleagues from Europe didn't even hear about. And that's why, as soon as our ROS accreditation, ROS becomes part of ILA, so you'll be able to be accredited with us, and the financial position will be better. That's why the most important for us is not to treat it formally. There are some rules, but there are some exceptions. Yes, it's possible to broaden this field, it's possible to narrow it, but we have to do everything together with our new agency, Russian accreditation agency. They know the theory, and we are ready to make some very professional, practical steps. But we are participants of NFC, European community. It helps us to understand that everything is harmonized the same way as our forensic examiners are doing all over the world. Please, we always paid great attention to quality, and in order to continue everything in a very harmonized fashion, I would like to get to the issue which is going to be presented by the representative of the People's Republic of China, head of Shanghai Center of Forensic Examination, Doctor of Science Shen Min. But I'm going to say a couple of words before that. We discussed accreditation, certification, validation, and Sergei told us about testing of different methodologies, testing of our examiners, our experts. What does that mean? You know really well. In order to be in demand in the market, we have to be highly professional, and a lot depends on the provider, on the coordinator of interlaboratory testing, and their cooperation influences the opportunities for these labs to be established in the market. The labs are not always tested. Sometimes some examiners are individually tested. It doesn't mean that the lab is not professional enough, or the lab could be tested, but the expert, the examiner, won't be able to win the niche in the market. In order for that to be very it to be harmonized, we have interlaboratory proficiency testing. So it's one of the cornerstones of the theory of accreditation. So now you have the floor. Distinguished Chairman, distinguished colleagues, good morning. And I'm the representative of the Institute of Forensic Science at the Ministry of Justice of the People's Republic of China. And it's great honor for me to address you at this forum. And I would like to use this opportunity to express my gratitude to the colleagues from the Russian Federation for promoting the development of all this work in forensic examination. And today I am going to talk about interlaboratory proficiency testing. So, what is proficiency testing? So, how is it connected with the process of determination of the quality of work of the laboratory? When we have interlaboratory comparative testing, because this is a highly important work, professional testing, proficiency testing. The team which is going to conduct this work has to be highly professional. And the Institute of Forensic Science at the Ministry of Justice of China is accredited since 2006 and in accordance with the requirements of international standards. And we are the only organization of this kind existing in China. And our program is about proficiency testing, and we have 11 directions of activities. And these are forensic toxicology, forensic pathology, also documents, forensic examination, and so on. You can see the list. And I believe that we have to mention that we have proficiency testing program regarding the cause of death and also the manner of death, and it's in accordance with all the recommendations of International Accreditation Organization. And this is the slide that is showing the trends of the development of professional testing, proficiency testing in China in the course of approximately 10 years. And every year it is shown, and Every year, more than 1,500 organizations participate in this program, and in general, it's more than 4,000. And also we had the participation of the colleagues from Holland, Russia, Switzerland, and other countries. And proficiency testing played highly important role in the development of forensic examination. And the first highly important part of proficiency testing is whether it's working for the cause of accreditation and certification, because the idea of accreditation and certification is to evaluate the competence. And secondly, what's highly important that they are working for the goals of government monitoring.
Another goal, another task is that they may take an active part in building a system and individual programs. Well, there is a new area about how you should do forensic examination of printed documents, and proficiency testing has been developed to include that area of work. Our goal, the goal of my institute, Proficiency Testing Institute, is to create a professional, open, scientific proficiency testing platform, helping us develop what we do. Because proficiency testing is unique, so the focus, it requires a lot of attention, because there are still some remaining problems in this area. It's a new one. The first goal would be to build a system of programs. There are three biggest kinds of proficiency testing: quantitative, qualitative, and interpretive. Each area, each type of proficiency testing is unique. And because of that, they use unique methods which work for each type. Let me give you an example. Forensic pathology or document examination require unique skills. Therefore, for those, qualitative and quantitative methods are used. Another type is forensic toxicology or trace evidence. Those types require labs that lab apply quantitative and qualitative methods of testing. You may say that you may find a lot of quantitative and qualitative methods which are used across the world, and this is where we should do a lot of innovation and should focus on, because they're really commonly used. And another area of what we do includes system planning and technical assessment. Proficiency testing is about experts who use technical competence and special knowledge. What we do is so unique that we should focus on the process, not just its elements. Therefore, program planning, program design requires a lot of attention and focus on competence of different kinds of experts. As for the results analysis, we have created some systems helping us to analyze the results and evaluate the results. We mostly focus on the results of technical programs and processes and competence of highly professional experts, skilled experts. And now I would like to very briefly speak about how the results of proficiency testing may be used. Above all, to be able to use the results appropriately, you have to create rules and regulations to make them legal. Another thing to emphasize is that what has to be done is combine the system with the PT results, the competence evaluation, and the technical government supervision. We should bring those three elements together. And the third thing which is necessary will be setting up sound incentive mechanism for forensic unit participants, motivating them to focus on PT activities. That requires a lot of new mentality, innovation, and a lot of attention. Will be happy to cooperate with different organizations in the PT area. This last slide shows the beautiful building of my institute, whose history is longer than 100 years. Once again, let me invite all of you to please come to Shanghai, to my institute there. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much, Min. My dear colleagues, that is just one administrative building of the Shanghai Institute. Next to it, there is a huge forensic center, huge lab, where experts are most talented, where experts are wonderful colleagues. And one example of inter-lab testing, which was done together with China, took place in 1997. When Russian specialist from the Northwest Forensic Center was invited to come to Shenyang, which is a police center training forensic experts, and they also have a forensic center, forensic lab. So the specialist, the Russian person whom they invited, shared forensic experience for document examination, how long before the documents were made. Initially, it looked like he would read a lecture and that would be the end of the story. But the end of the story was inter-lab testing at workshops which took place at the center. And it is with pleasure that I'd like to tell you that the document examination techniques that our lawyers and judges are so much concerned about, document age examination is 89% developed. If you look across the globe, the document age examination technique does not exist in the world as a developed technique. Different nations use different techniques, and now our Chinese colleagues have created a wonderful method which is based on the knowledge Russia used to share with them some time ago. You see, interlab testing sounds as a dry subject, but without interlab testing, without the method which is absent in Europe or the United States, let me take it back. There is a Russian expert living in the United States, and he does document examination, but that technique has not been tested. While now our Chinese colleagues in Russia have developed and tested an exciting document age examination method. That is an illustration showing to you how important this issue is and how important an element it is. You all thank us for inviting you, for choosing this exciting subject, and I would like to say thank you. My thanks go to European colleagues and American colleagues. We have recently been to the United States. It was a study tour for us, and my special thanks go to China, because with China we do more than share results. We do it as friends on a gratuitous basis. Thank you, Shinmin, and I'd like to thank your country's leaders and the leaders of your ministry. Sergei Yuriev, advisor to the air transport leader, doctor of law. This is my question. The subject we have been discussing here is really exciting, and as far as I hear, we mostly focus on forensic studies which have to be conducted by professionally trained experts who work for professional labs on a continuous basis. We at the aviation area are concerned about the so-called situation examinations. When you have an air accident, you have to draw in experts, specialists, which are referred to as experts, who are not employed by forensic centers or forensic labs. And as they give their opinions, those opinions are very frequently subjective, biased, and are not grounded on any established techniques. That's why I make this difference between situation evaluations and forensic evaluations. Can you please ask your question again? It's not a question. I just have been telling you that we differentiate between situation examination and forensic examination. Do you have proficiency testing for air accidents? Not for the air transport, for highways and railway transport. Yes, we do. Let me take your question. You asked a wonderful question, and of course, if everything goes as planned, it will be taken care of in the new Forensic Act. Currently, it is done like this. Let me describe the procedure to you. All depends on how professional the law enforcement agent is who ordered examination, and if we don't have required experts at our center, then subject to the approval of the court, we can use different experts, but those should be knowledgeable in forensic techniques to make the examination professional. Because at the outset I said you may be a wonderful specialist in what you do, but not be a forensic expert. My dear colleagues, there's still 2 speakers, and then the round session will be over. Those presentations are really critical because they complete this module of discussion about what we need to make labs, experts, and centers really professional, capable of answering the questions posed to us by law enforcement agents, while law enforcement agents can't take them. We have discussed everything but the most critical thing: training, personnel, cadre. People who, like Sergey said, maybe he was, probably embarrassed to bring it up because he's so wonderfully young. While our labs and centers employ older people, we don't have a lot of young people working there. That is why the issue of training, the issue of educating or continuous education for our people is the most essential issue. So the next presentations, the final presentations, will focus on the human factor. The floor goes now to training pioneers, head of the Department of Intellectual Property and Forensics, and the head of the Moscow Bauman Technical University, Boris Korobets, and the Boris's co-presenter will be the greatest university in this country, which will be represented by Andrei Sestabitov, and he'll share with us what we do to bring our unique results into Europe, not just across the country. Andrei represents a center in Switzerland, but I'll give him the floor. He'll be able to tell you more about the center. And the final speaker will conclude the session describing Eurozec achievements. That's a perfect venue, perfect platform for the forensic system. Finally, we'll tell you about how Eurozec work. Thank you, Svetlana, for very warm introductions. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak in front of this wonderful audience, and thank you for your personal support we have seen from your center in the training area. Without your support, without your methodological assistance, the current forensic training would be impossible in this country.
We quite sincere in our understanding that there are, of course, two issues to education: who's to be educated and who is to be educating. We will not be discussing the specific competences that undergraduates receive at the secondary school, but it is quite important issue for all universities is to what they should offer in terms of the competences. And the list of these competences, of course, should be filtered down to us by those who will be relying on the services of the future professionals. Without your target orientation, our work at the university will be completely futile, and I don't think this is what we want. And this is true not only of my university, but of all universities in this country. We've already decided, we've agreed here that forensic sciences are synthetic sciences, very complex set of sciences, and another issue to education from my point of view is that it should be an amalgamation of legal disciplines and technical sciences, as well as probably some linguistic competences. We could argue what is better, to have the fundamental knowledge or to start specializing from the outset. So we try to decide for ourselves what future experts should be like, what should we do to educate and enlighten them. There are several approaches. One is to upgrade the existing graduates with fundamental knowledge in engineering, sciences, linguistics, humanities, and this is approach usually opted for to the government-sponsored institutions, where by joining them, professionals get the necessary specialization or upgrading in specific forensic sciences. This is an acceptable approach, but there are certain hurdles professionals will have to overcome, and even with brilliant narrow specialization, experts could be very good, but they still may not be quite successful in litigating in court or in presenting their findings in court. They may not know exactly all the facts and what they need to know about law and courts, court proceedings. This is something that we more tend to describe more as specialists, not experts. And of course, there are exceptions where professionals could have several different educations and then could become brilliant experts. But when you are limited in time and you are supposed to provide additional competences in the area of forensic sciences, it is very difficult to act when you don't have the necessary kind of fundamental proficiency. But there is another approach where you would offer systematic education on forensic sciences, and this is something that has been in existence for 2 decades at least. This is the specialization that has been approved, but it moved from the area of law to other disciplines, and then back to law schools, and forensic sciences specialization should include certain competences in which the future graduates would take exams. They include certain humanities, but apart from that, they also need to have some rather detailed knowledge in technical specializations and technical sciences, and this is a major issue because undergraduates tend to specialize either humanities or sciences, but in fact what we need to get at the end of their education courses has a synthesis of both. I'm not complaining here. I am fully aware of the complexity of the issue, and this is exactly what we try to address in our curriculum with the feedback from various institutions that will be relying on the services of our graduates. We wanted to establish a very comprehensive synthetic image of a specialist, so that at the end of the university studies, the said graduates would have the necessary competences to be able to work in that area. At our university, this discipline was established 20 years ago when the very first educational standard was approved. We provided very specialized knowledge on explosions, on transport, and fire and arson as a second education. But a few years ago, we started this course as a basic course for undergraduates, and as a result, there will be also acquiring competences in the area of ITs and all the necessary legal knowledge and forensic sciences knowledge. So at the end, becoming a forensic specialist, they will be responsible for showing the face, not only of our university, but of the entire approach to forensic sciences. We believe that the second approach is more systemic because over the 5 years of university studies, the undergraduates cover all the necessary disciplines in engineering, IT. We also offer specialization in economics, in fingerprinting, and construction, and there could be a very long list of those narrow disciplines. With this approach whereby during the 5 years of studies we offer integrated curricula covering the specific specialization of the future forensic experts and also the general knowledge of procedural and legal knowledge. Relying on the feedback from the Justice Ministry and community, we seem to have agreed that this 5-year course should be sufficient. If that doesn't happen, then we could change the system to make it 2-step from the master's to degree of bachelor's. So far, we're still in process. We're looking for the best way, and the new legislation and education allows us to do some experimenting as to what approach would be best for our justice system. It will have to wait and see. We could compare different approaches, we could compare competences, probably see the gaps or redundancies, and this is something that universities should learn together with the future employers. And this, of course, this is the mission of the university, to supply the industry with the best possible personnel. Now that we have been joined the Bologna system, all of our education curricula in forensic sciences are based on modules. We offer competences in all specific discipline, because each discipline at the end has to ensure that the graduate has necessary competence. But each module also within these disciplines should have competences approach as well. So this, as a result, would rely on a very complicated mosaic picture, whereby the future professionals would have the necessary set of competences required in the markets. I may be repeating myself, but I could do it time and again. We will do our best to train very highly competent professionals, but we need feedback and support of the employers. We may know how to reach the mission or the goal, but the specific details should come from the employer, and the employer is our key client. I sincerely hope that our graduates and other graduates, other universities would do their best to show the best face of the profession. Thank you very much. Your graduates have been doing their best. They work at various institutions and bodies across this huge country. They are very professional, very learned. But I would argue that a 5-year course, as back in the Soviet Union, must provide that all of your graduates have jobs. So you should have a system of ensuring jobs for them. As for another approach, which is based on the course of the Masters of Arts, they may study, for example, for 4 years IT sciences, and then in the 4th year of their master's program, they will specialize in law and forensic. Then probably the system could give us brilliant specialists. That was the approach back 120 years. That was the approach whereby competent professionals would be given another 9 months to specialize in a narrow field of this rather forensic science, and then you would get absolutely brilliant professionals specializing in their area and doing their best and giving all of their efforts and life to the profession. Now, Evgeny, what do you think at the Moscow University? We need the microphone. Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank for this opportunity to address you. It's not that often that an expert community sees this sort of an outsider that has very little to say on forensic sciences, but is allowed to address forensic experts at this legal forum. Thanks to your hospitality, I was given this opportunity. I think Barisa touched upon a very sensitive issue. We don't have much time to discuss it, but what my take on it is that the law school at the Moscow University is probably the most conservative from the point of view of tertiary education. You can't imagine how many discussions, how intense they were, whether we should follow the the Bologna process. We were the last to follow the general trend, and which probably was not good. We insisted we should retain the old Soviet 5-year course of education, producing what we call specialists. And the last straw was this unique curriculum that our law school initiated. It actually happened 15 years ago. It was originally called the International Legal Program or Law Program, and it was done together with our branch in Geneva. It's a specialized university established by Geneva Canton in Switzerland, and this university is accredited and registered in Switzerland. It is also accredited in the Russian Federation. It received also public accreditation by the Russian Union of Lawyers, and many other public associations spoke very positively about the work done over the 15 years. So finally, we seem to have joined the system of masters and bachelors, but of course every coin has two sides, and we spent so much time doing that that we retains the old age approach to teaching, and we also had certain successes that we've implemented with our colleagues from Geneva. With this two-pronged approach with masters and bachelors, we could produce some sort of synthetic professionals. I've been following very closely your discussions of the requirements to forensic experts, and I try to set an image. Should it be a lawyer with knowledge of technical or other sciences or other humanities or arts? Or is it a specialist? And I might refer to my experience at the Moscow International Chamber of Commerce as an arbiter. At our arbitration courts, nothing can be done without forensic experts, and we need and must trust them. For me, as someone who has been practicing law, non-legal knowledge is essential. It should be appreciated, but I need to talk the same language with the forensic expert. Sometimes we get experts who have absolutely no idea about the process in court. This is, of course, very disappointing. You really have to break in the experts in the procedural issues, suggesting when and how he or she should speak. And it may be funny sometimes, but it's also sad, and it happens. But we are very grateful to the fact that today, thanks to the course of masters, we could offer the necessary level of knowledge, detailed enough. 2 years requires very concentrated efforts. If the person wants to get this degree of knowledge, I'm sure he will be a very brilliant professional in the area chosen. So, based on our program that I told you about, we now have changed our vision a bit, and we now can offer similar or different programs in partnership with other universities. So you are welcome. Any of the universities represented here are welcome to join us in a program that would implement very unique approaches that could open door to Europe because we are represented in Geneva. It is an opportunity to acquire knowledge from our Swiss professors or other European professors who we are in a position to invite. Our international program is a sort of a platform that opens way for implementing synthetic curriculum, and that's what we have been doing, and you're most welcome to join us. This new standard in forensic sciences and education is not an obstacle. It is something that we could do in a way that we could do by offering the best of knowledge and education. Thank you very much again to all of you. This is this presentations we just had reminds me of a similar roundtable we had last year, because last year we were attended by the chief of the Geneva Center, Tamerlan Gassanov. We were surprised then that he was asked to address Pierre Margot, but we have so good partnerships in Europe that Pierre Margot told dear Mr. Gassanov, you have this Russian Federal Center. Should they join us in our efforts? Should they want to integrate? We will be coming to your center.
Well, you can imagine the extent of this great achievement, and of course it's possible to forget that Russia does it quite well. And now, at the end of our discussion, I would like to share with you the real model of the right kind of the system of examination, forensic examination institutions in the Eurasian economic space, and show us today Russia, Belarus, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan implement those ideas into life. How is it all harmonized in the Eurasian economic space? And now I would like to ask the head of one of the most advanced centers of forensic examination of Kazakhstan, where the experts, the same way as in China, they want to learn everything which is the best. They are trained brilliantly, and they are ready to accept everything which is the best. They have a great school, and I suggest that they share with us how we manage to do it. I would like to ask Professor, Director of the Forensic Examination Center of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Isidor Borchashvili. Tell us, please, you haven't been working for a long time in your institution, but you are one of us. How could you create this model organization we all should just deal with and strive towards the same standards? Thank you so much. Thank you, Svetlana Arkadyevna. Thank you for giving me the floor. And, well, we discussed it with the deputy director, and I believe that those ideas are good ideas.
The ideas that we have heard will be, of course, used by all of us as we proceed. And this is what I'd like to discuss with you. On the 31st of December 2013, the head of state issued a decree approving law enforcement system modernization program in Kazakhstan for 2015 through 2020. This program has a section, a standalone chapter focusing on improving forensic operations in Kazakhstan. The issues of validation, training, equipment, and others are included in the program. We have been discussing training. So to implement this government program, my government issued a decree on the 1st of April 2014. This year will be responsible for medical forensic examination from 2015, narcological forensic examination, and the next year, the year after that, mental forensic examination, which means a lot of work. Now let me speak specifically about education. Both the plan and the program speak about creating a training center for initial education and continuous education for our experts. I have to admit that by 2020, we want to have 10% of our experts with an MA degree and 2% with PhD degree. Of course, well, I can see you smiling, and well, some of us are smiling as well, because we realize, and it has to be acknowledged, that today we don't have a special university to train forensic experts. We don't have even a department, forensic department in Kazakhstan. But having said that, this is what we expect to do. We developing a plan to cooperate with universities, sign agreements with them so that they could include in their curricula special courses, and so that they could send their students to our centers and have us as guest speakers and speak about what a forensic expert or examiner is. And the status of forensic expert should, of course, be made better. We must try to obtain a special status. You may ask me, why do you need it? What is a special status? You know what we do? We support law enforcement work, don't we? We support courts. We make their work possible. And we have run inventory of all law enforcement related laws, and the forensic law, which was adopted in 2010, you know, has no protection clauses, no benefits for experts, nothing. That has to be taken care of. So the government program, the action plan, will be implemented. To facilitate its implementation, we are developing a new bill on forensic operations in Kazakhstan. We have examined the Russian law and other laws to make them compatible, so to say, because we belong to a single economic space. In May, the leaders of our nations signed this unification document. We are moving towards each other, and we experts are moving towards each other, but maybe we are too slow moving towards each other. Maybe we are not too good, too professional moving towards each other in terms of harmonizing examination forensic techniques. I think we speak too much and don't do enough. Well, if I say something that you don't like, I'm sorry, but yeah, thank you. Please stop me when my time is up, because I know I can say something which will make you very unhappy. And now let me speak about accreditation. The action plan has it that by 2020, 85% of the labs should receive international accreditation. Can we do that? Can we do that unless we get together? Unless we join our ranks? I don't think so. So yes, we have to look into the future. Sometimes we look too far into the future and don't see what is in front of us. You know, we've had those exciting European presentations. Europe has excellent experience, but what Russia has, what Azerbaijan already has, what Kyrgyzia has, should also be used. We should look within ourselves and have a domestic inventory, all of us. Be together. Our presidents are setting an example for us, and we have not been as active as we probably should. Yes, I agree. I'm a new person. I may have missed something. But once again, why don't we create joint commissions, developing new methods, new examination techniques, improving the existing techniques and methods? And there's a lot of things we can do better. Moreover, well, our government provides for the development of new forensic techniques and new forensic examinations. That is something to work on. And there have been a lot of positive examples. If we create joint commissions, like I said, if we work together, there'll be more outcomes and better outcomes. There is a Kazakh saying. How can I translate it into Russia? You know, the load you lift together is not as heavy as when you lift it alone. Well, we all have our respective forensic laws in our respective jurisdictions. We should revise them to see how compatible they are from the point of view of validation and accreditation, how they make it possible for us to move towards each other, how they allow for convergence. Who may be an expert in Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan, a citizen of that respective nation? Is it really necessary? Is it really necessary? The citizenship requirement, is it a must? Do we really need it? Let's think about it. It's a practical question. Thank you very much. Thank you. I realize I have to stop. And one last thing, I promise. On the 1st of January 2015, new criminal code, criminal procedure code, and administrative code for administrative offenses will become effective. So you see, on the one hand, we are joining our ranks. We are creating a single forensic system, but the criminal procedure code will have a broad definition for a specialist. Since 2011, the specialist report is as good as an expert report. The new criminal procedure code has a broad definition, making it possible for specialists to work for all law enforcement agencies. That may create a potential problem. The criminal code introduces a new definition of a criminal violation as opposed to criminal offense. And those are something like misdemeanor without any prison sentence. And more than 70 administrative offenses will become criminal minor violations, and that will bring the criminal violation percentage up, and that will mean more criminal forensic examinations, because criminal violations require forensic examinations to be made. You see, another potential development, so we should move together, we should be together. That was my brief presentation. Thank you very, very much.
These are the problems. This is something that we really would like to discuss, but we wanted you to tell us about what's been done today. So could I say a couple of words about it, because I've been working long in this commission, and I would like to say that in this Eurasian economic space, so we are discussing the issues and problems that were mentioned here at this forum, and we are dealing with that very specifically. We exchange our people. We train people in the republics to conduct a forensic examination that's not conducted there. We also conduct interlaboratory testing for free, and we conduct international seminars and conferences where we invite all experts from our countries, and these 10 years show us 10 plus years show us that this commission and the ministries of justice of our countries gave us a lot. Even those painful issues that you mentioned, they are just coming from the work of our commission, and you could see everything that we're talking about. We would like the laws to be uniform. We want to be able to address international courts, provide our results. We must have uniform terminology. We must have uniform definitions that we are going to use in our forensic reports. This is the work to be done. What you're talking about, accreditation, yes, we're thinking about it. And why Sergei made his keynote speech here, because we step by step, without much tension, we approached this situation that we'll be able to do it in our country quite soon. Some kinds of examination could be accredited in one place, some in ILAC. It depends. It depends on the head of the lab, head of the center, head of some commercial organization. But the idea is that we set all those questions already, and now we are moving towards the answers. We try to make very careful steps, just the right steps, and we are moving towards the goal. And that's what we wanted to hear. And I would like to thank your wonderful colleagues. You have real professionals working in your place. And would like to thank you for all those things we do in the Commission. Yes, I touched upon the government programs. A lot of work has been conducted, and under your guidance, Svetlana, and I'm not flattering you. It's a real effort that you're making, and every year 20 experts of ours get training in Moscow. Now 10 examiners, they are undergoing training in Moscow regarding environmental issues. We conduct joint conferences in October. Now in August, we're going to work in Kyrgyzstan. In October, we're planning to have the conference in Almaty. And because of the activities of your commission, because of this examiner community, all these issues have been raised, and our examiners, together with you, our joint work allowed us to have this special part of the government program. But you looked at me. I thought that was the end of my speech. Once again, I have to tell you, I looked at you with great respect and gratitude. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for talking to us. Distinguished colleagues, in 5 minutes we must vacate this room. It's so interesting. We have this wonderful discussion, and I would like to summarize. On behalf of the Russian side, I am grateful to all the people present. And apart from the speakers, we have our guests from Serbia, Sweden, Kyrgyzstan, and I think you met your colleagues, and thank you so much for finding this time, for participating in these activities, and I am sure that at the next forum we'll have similar roundtable, because people like our events. Last year we had much smaller room. This year we have a large room. And in conclusion of our roundtable, on behalf of the Russian Federal Center and all examiners of Russia, would like to thank our speakers for making very profound, very interesting presentations, for sharing with us. You didn't try to hide anything. Thank you, those people who participate the second time. Yander Kinder, well, he's going to be our speaker forever. Do you agree? So you're going to be our constant speaker at all the events, and we would like to give you some souvenirs. This is the production of the Imperial Factory of St. Petersburg. So please, it's for you to remember this forum. Thank you. And please look at the agenda and participate in all the events. Everything is really interesting. And the tour along the rivers and canals of St. Petersburg. And also please attend all the tours. And it's not just intellectual communication, but also we must attend cultural events. Good luck to you, and thank you. Goodbye.